Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is the first in our series of video vignettes featuring our SSON columnists. We have multiple columnists, but I'm absolutely delighted to welcome one of them to our stage today to give a little overview of one of his latest articles, in which we're going to be talking about how DevOps can actually boost outcome-based contracting. So first, let me welcome Ankur to the stage. Ankur, would you like to give the audience a little overview of yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Rochelle, and very pleased to be here amongst all of you. So I have been in this industry for the last 15, 16 years, advising clients on various sourcing programs. And as sourcing industry has progressed and moved ahead, the new sourcing trend seems to be talking about Agile and DevOps. So in today's topic, I'm going to talk about how DevOps can actually boost sourcing and make it more outcome-oriented. So look forward for this discussion.
Fantastic. Well, let's jump right in. First of all, before we start talking about DevOps, you mentioned you've had a long time in this industry, and we work with both in-house and outsourcing providers. Most of us are used to traditional kind of transactional or delivery-based contracting when it comes to outsourcing. Tell us a bit about what outcome-based contracting is really all about.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. And in fact, a lot of audience, a lot of people I've interacted with may not have a good clarity of what is outcome-based contracting. So let me clarify that a little bit. When we talk of contracting, we typically try to measure the performance of service provider. And when I say performance, these are generally KPIs like have they responded on time, have they delivered on time, is it within the budget, etc. So all of these are nothing but performance of the service provider. But here we are talking of outcomes. And by outcomes, it means something which impacts or is close to impacting business. So we are talking about reaction time to the market. We are talking about faster deployment. We are talking about things that can have direct impact on the business. So that's essentially the key difference between outcome and traditional legacy-based contracting.
Okay, well, thanks for that overview. In the article, you talk a little bit about how DevOps is a practice that's really helped us all adjust to Agile approach to IT. We hear over and over as people begin to introduce more robotics process automation and anything within the whole intelligent automation consortium that we all need to be a bit more agile. Can you help the audience understand the correlation between DevOps and what that might mean to having your organization become more agile?
Yeah. See, DevOps and Agile go hand in hand together. In fact, DevOps is nothing but a way of life. It's a way of doing projects in a different way. As the business demand delivery organizations to be more agile, they want projects to be done faster and much more efficient way. So industry has came up with a term called Agile, where projects are being delivered in a fast way, in a sprint way. Now, if the delivery or development has to happen in fast, the deployment as well as the support has to also match up with the speed. And that means the operations also have to sync with the development. And that's why the term DevOps has been coined. Basically, it is nothing but agile way of doing development and agile way of doing operations. So that both goes hand in hand together.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, I particularly liked in your article where you went through a model, a wonderful, very interesting model, and I thought was very graphically helped me really understand a bit of the background between traditional contracting and DevOps, what the differences are, and and sort of outlining how we transition to this DevOps type of sourcing. Can you walk the audience through this model a little bit more about what it shares with us?
Yeah, that was my way of very simply putting up how to differentiate between DevOps sourcing and traditional sourcing. So again, coming back to my original point that in traditional sourcing, we are talking of performance primarily as a way of measuring the service provider's performance. Now, when it comes to traditional sourcing, we are talking about models which are very input oriented. So you have either number of people working, or you have some sort of baseline volumes, which will allow you to measure the price and the effort. And you use that to define the service levels agreement. which is, again, as I said, like, can you resolve number of defects in a time? Can you resolve the issues? Can you respond to the queries? Can you meet your projects within a time frame and budget? But now, if you look at the right-hand side of the graph, DevOps is supposed to be more outcome-oriented, because in DevOps, the client would be more interested to know whether the deployments have happened on time and have the deployments been bug-free. And if the deployments are bug-free and they have happened on time, it means the features, the release of new models have reached market in a record time, which means you are actually measuring successful deployments. You're actually measuring faster time to market, faster time to reaction, and overall reduced cycle time of the project.
Fantastic. Well, this all sounds perfect, Ankur, so it's hard to think that everyone doesn't do this. Tell us a little bit about what hinders us, or what are some of the barriers or considerations that we all need to be aware of moving to a DevOps type of sourcing model?
There are a couple of hindrances, and let's not forget that we are still in an industry which is heavily dominated by traditional way of doing things. It's changing into Agile and DevOps, but it still has a lot of journey to cover. Imagine an organization which is a big fat IT domain into it. And most of the projects, most of the people are still working in the traditional way because they have the legacy applications, they have the legacy team, and the way of things doesn't change so fast. So in the best case scenario, you would have a number of projects which are running in a traditional way, and you have a small number of projects where clients are trying to adopt DevOps and Agile. So essentially, you're talking of a contract which needs flexibility to work in a traditional way, but also need to adopt to DevOps and Agile contracting as and when required. And putting that contract in a place is not so easy because you don't know when it will change. You don't know what are the baselines. So the biggest hindrance to adopt DevOps and Agile is the contracting itself, the know-how of the contracting and the ability to flex that, ability to have flexibility in it. And I think the second biggest hindrance is it calls for a change management. It calls for the change in the way people think and the way production team and operations team and development team works together. So the structuring of the organization and the operating model around it has to change. And unless that is changed, DevOps and Agiles cannot be adopted so easily. So these two are, according to me, are the biggest hindrances.
Well, you've given us a lot to think about, and on that note, I really want to thank you for your time today to introduce this article and yet another point of consideration for us. Just wanted to let the audience know that Ankur is one of our many columnists, so I've given you a little overview where you can check out the other columnist information, but I'd really like to also invite you to check out more of Ankur's articles. He talks a lot about how to become smarter in sourcing as a whole, everything from the way that you approach your contracts to things about why we would need more RPA providers in the market. So you look forward to his fresh new articles coming out on a regular basis. And thank you for your time, Ankur, today, and we welcome you all to reading those articles now and in the future.
Thank you, Rochelle. Pleasure.